Welcome to Zanaco Unplugged, the podcast series that takes you inside Zambia's biggest bank and brings you conversations with business leaders and creative leaders, as well as pioneers. We bring you topics that range from business, tech, innovation, and sustainability. My name is Rose Sibisi, and I am super excited to be your host for season 2 of Zanaco Unplugged. So, as we carry on with the digital revolution, today we take a deep dive into the digital realm, exploring the milestones that have revolutionized entrepreneurship. That's the word, revolutionized entrepreneurship. And on the backdrop of Zanaco L.E.A.D.S, the biggest conference that we've had talking about innovation, technology, agility, and sustainability, I am super proud to be sitting here today and speaking to the legendary Rapelang Rabana, who has just dropped nuggets at Zanaco L.E.A.D.S in talking about the future of the digital revolution. So in this episode, I'd really like us to stay focused as we welcome Rapelang. How are you doing?
I am very well, Rose. It's an absolute pleasure to be in Zambia for the first time, and very fitting that it's under Zanaco L.E.A.D.S.
I can't believe you actually have not been to Zambia.
Breaks my heart. I can't believe it either, but I'm here now, so Zambians, you can forgive me.
But it's a good reason. It's a good reason for you to be in Zambia right now, because you are with Zambia's biggest bank that is leading when it comes to digital revolution. So it's not an accident that you and I are sitting here today and having this great conversation where we just sort of define what does it mean with the fast-changing digital technology and how can we leverage on the changing dynamics. So as I'm just sitting here thinking about some of the areas that you touched on when you were speaking at Zanaco L.E.A.D.S, it was very clear that there are digital tools that are needed in order for businesses and entrepreneurship to progress as it should. So when I think about that, and you really are passionate about something like that, what is the entrepreneurial journey like right now when it comes to applying digital technology?
You know, Rose, it's gotten so much better than the 15 or so years ago when I started my first business. I like to think that today you can operate like a world-class business without being a Microsoft or an Accenture.
Right.
And you can function like one from the beginning because the tools are so good and so affordable at this point. Most of the time, I think when people say innovation, they imagine they have to become coders or data scientists and the like. But the truth is that for most of us, innovation and applying digital technologies is going to mostly fix our back office and our customer experience. And I honestly believe that as most entrepreneurs, even the one-man shows, were to apply technologies well, they would be able to leverage themselves so much if they use the right back-end tools for project management, for CRM, for accounting, for anything, as well as using the tools today available for customer experience, where even if you're a courier company, to be able to send your customers a WhatsApp message that I am 5 minutes away, here's my live location, for example, or just to confirm when I'm coming. Instead of, the chaos that we still live in, where people are trying to call you to arrange a drop-off. It's really time that even every business adopted these tools to perform.
Okay. So it's great that we adopt these tools to perform, and it's exciting, and not everybody is techno-savvy. And I'd imagine that with understanding digital tools and technology and how you can use it, also comes the concern of cybersecurity as well as data privacy concerns. What is your take on that? How do you mitigate that, whereas we're encouraging to use digital tools and move with the times? How do we protect these two areas?
Sure. It's definitely a concern. The more you have, assets and value online, the more digital assets are exposed potentially. For me, what's most important is to use really credible and secure third-party tools. The reality is that me and you sitting here are not monitoring security threats day in, day out. So me trying to manage it by, locking stuff up in my room or office, is probably not the most secure way to go.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're subscribing for services that really prioritize security and that you as the user are not compromising access, because this is where most of the things go wrong.
Yeah.
It's you haven't properly set up your password system, so you're using the same password everywhere else. You haven't set up, double or multi-factor authentication so that it's linked to your phone or something in the physical world. And you're using all of these services unsecurely. That's by far and away, in my experience, where most things go wrong. Very few things is when the actual company that you're using gets hacked. Of course it happens, but it's incredibly minimal.
Yeah.
And I think that if you learn how to use your tools appropriately, you apply the security and you do, don't use every sort of open network to do your business, you're already much better off on the safer side. So I think with the right SaaS tools, most of us are well protected if we abide by their security policies.
I'm laughing when you say that, because I think with most entrepreneurs, you end up having access to maybe internet booths, and that's where you go. And I'm also guilty. Like, it's much easier to just remember that one password that you use for all of your applications. And sometimes there's an alert that comes up that your password has been compromised.
Correct.
So if you had to speak to an entrepreneur, you've candidly put it that, you know what, be very aware of the privacy concerns. But to entrepreneurs who have to work in the public space, how else can they protect their information and ensure that they're not compromised?
The simplest trick I think I've adopted over the years is a password management system.
Okay.
That I use on my phone and on my desktop. And every time I set up an account on a new site, it auto-generates a much more secure password. And I just remember one super long password for that password manager service.
Okay.
And I don't have to then recall all of these other passwords. And installing that, it's a paid-for service mostly, but it is definitely worth it. Because now I'm a lot more comfortable. I've seen, so many people have Facebook hacks and, Instagram hacks and things like that.
Terrible.
You've really got to make sure you are using the passwords correctly and setting up that multi-factor authentication.
Yeah. With your passion around how digital innovation is so key for entrepreneurs to get forward and really stand out. And obviously, I have the privilege of the fact that I was seated at Zanaco L.E.A.D.S, and you brought in this phenomenal concept around the hippo. But what I want to tap into is, I want to ask you, digital innovation in an entrepreneurial journey has its pluses and minuses. Are there any wonderful entrepreneurial experiences that you can share that have been enhanced positively by adapting to digital innovation?
I would say that I talk about, the things I've directly experienced.
Yeah.
So even in my first business, when we developed our learning voice over IP internet calling application, it was on the belief that we can be able to make internet calls on mobile phones way back, when, and that as students, we shouldn't have to, suffer for not having credit on our phones, and we should still be able to communicate. And as software developers, we were able to create the products that we were ultimately selling. So I think if you're a young person today, there isn't a better time to invest skills and resources in that area. But what's wonderful now is that, 15, 20 years later, you don't have to have studied computer science to leverage the very best of technology now. What I think is far more important for innovators is to conduct data-driven experiments that get you in touch with your customers from day one. Gone are the days where you sit in the corner for 3 years and you pontificate about your beautiful multi-billion-dollar idea and expect that one day when you launch it, you're going to be made.
Yeah.
That's true fiction, and that robs
Fairy tale.
very smart people of opportunities to grow and learn. True innovation isn't hiding in the corner. It's using the tools that are available on the internet, off the web, somewhere, to get going from where you are, as you are, and putting it in front of customers and getting real customer feedback from the get-go. That's how you actually truly find the proposition that customers will value and consider as a must-have and not a nice-to-have. And it's not something you can figure out by sitting at your desk doing tons of research.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they didn't teach us that at school. This is one thing where doing that analytical essay isn't going to get you the answer. It's working directly in the market with your potential customers and integrating that feedback into your product.
We've come a long way. I think years back when, like you're saying, when computer technology and all these programs just started, there was things like MS-DOS and this, that, and there would be all these lines that come on the screen and you're like, what is it that I'm supposed to, all these things. But thinking back and looking at where we are now, Rapelang, where do you see some exciting trends that are coming up in the digital innovation space that we should look out for, apart from the tools? What trends can people look out for, young people, businesses, entrepreneurs, as well as corporates to apply?
Sure. The big underlying trend, and I'm not one that likes to get lost in all the buzzwords, but the big underlying trend of almost everything in technology is figuring out how you create the digital replica of any experience. So, for example, how do you create the digital replica of your health state? And when we wear our fitness watches and they track how our heart rate is and how we're exercising, etc., those are all attempts to create a digital replica of our state of health. And when you are, managing a car service now, being able to model what's happening other people's in your car is essentially what's going to create the best mechanics and repairs of the future, because they will tell you your car's about to break down. Come here, because they have used all of the smart tools. This comes from everything, Internet of Things, to sense what's happening, and then the data and the analytics to analyze it, and then the systems to communicate and manage your customers. Almost everything is going in that direction. And if you think about, as another simple example with our shopping, for example, being able to recreate your grocery shopping experience on a mobile phone that gets you everything that you need coming to you, instead of having to go physically into the shops. If you take a few steps back, you will see that everything is actually just about creating digital replicas of experiences we have every day and making it much easier, more convenient, perhaps even more affordable. And the opportunity for entrepreneurs and digital innovators today is to notice those experiences that are particularly important to Africans, to people like them, and go on the journey of digitizing those. I think that is where the opportunity really, really is. And I think we'll see it more. I believe there's one particular interesting startup in South Africa that has created a way for Africans to invest in cows remotely without actually physically owning a cow.
Really?
But you've got an app and you can make the investments and you can monitor and track your cow investment from your device. So again, digitizing the experience of owning and managing livestock that has been a part of so many generations of Africans. And, so that's really actually the essence of it all.
Brilliant. I can't believe that that's already happening, but you've set such a good tone as we come to almost the close of our conversation today, where I'm thinking about when you look at large financial institutions like Zanaco, you've actually come at an exciting time where Zanaco is actually turning 55. So you can imagine how far they've come from manual processes and human experiences, customer service experience, and now they're moving in this digital innovation era as they turn 55. How do you think Zanaco as a financial institution, as well as other corporates, can leverage on digital innovation to offer real-time experiences such as the one that you've described?
Yeah. I like to look at everything digital innovation as ultimately addressing 4 big business agendas: driving business growth and revenue growth, reducing the operating cost, improving customer experience, and enhancing the employee experience.
Right.
And depending on where your organization is at any point, one of those quadrants is absolutely critical. But ultimately, using these tools lands in one of those quadrants ultimately. It's not about just using technology for the sake of it. It's really about hitting one of those perfectly on the head so that you use the very best technologies to move things ahead. I think that banks in particular have a rare opportunity now, given our large customer bases, given the amount of information they know about me and you. They know where we buy, how much we spend, the things we like, the things we don't like. They have a very rare opportunity to build completely unrelated unrelated services on that financial data. Okay. So I think it's important that you no longer see yourself as being in a category of banking or transactional banking, for example. And you see yourself serving customer needs. Whatever those customers, of yours are needing to do now, they're going to go somewhere for it. And why not you, given that you can actually most likely predict when they're going to need it based on their historical spend? So that's a huge opportunity for banks or established organizations with a strong customer base already.
Say no more. There you have it. I've been speaking to Rapelang Rabana, a visionary in the digital landscape all the way from Johannesburg, South Africa, on the backdrop of Zanaco L.E.A.D.S. And today we've been talking about how digital innovation has revolutionized the way business is done in institutions and the digital tools that entrepreneurs can tap into as they apply their businesses in readiness for scaling up and for growth. This has been super exciting and we could go on, but we've come to the end of today's episode with the lovely Rapelang Rabana. This is Rose CBC, and catch us next time for another interesting conversation only on Zanaco Unplugged.